And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with new energy. We do not have 250 people to talk about. We got a smooth 9 plus 7. We got 16 so far right now.
16
to talk about right now. So I think the undrafted free agent process is still going on. It's still going. Okay, cool. So once that's finalized, we're gonna tap in with you. Me and Bryan did an hour-long thing yesterday, and we normally stop around 45. But boy, y'all needed the feature presentation there to be a little longer to talk about all those guys. But Bryan, I got a couple of things here for you today.
Sure.
I got some audio clips that I want to play for you because I pulled some from Coach Guyton and Coach Clayton Adams. I just kind of want to go back and forth with you about it a little bit. And another little situation with a little thought that I had, Bryan, because I be having questions. But there's one thing here though, Bryan. On the internet, Nick Harris does his job really well. You know what I'm saying?
He does. Yeah.
Shouts out to our guy Nick Harris. And when you look at the collective conversation that's happening online right now, Sister Jane even came out and said, yeah, people, they probably are looking at Amari Cooper, but boy, they looking at a lot of receivers. I said, all right, Sister Jane, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Bryan, it may not be Amari Cooper, but I am relieved to pieces that at least a conversation is happening over there. You know what I'm saying? If we hear from Jane or from Nick Harris or from Patrick Walker or from whoever's in that building over there, hey, man, I ain't hearing nothing about wide receiver. I think they're just going to run with Mingo and Tolbert. I'd be heartbroken, Bryan.
Sure.
But the fact that, and even if it's not Cooper, the fact that they're talking about it, it could be Keenan Allen. It could still be a trade, using next year's pick. I saw Elijah Moore out there. I still think it's options, Bryan, and that helps me sleep at night. We just got to be a little patient for the name that comes out of it.
No, you're absolutely right. And you're right about Nick Harris. I think he does a fine job working for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. He's got his sources. Jane has her sources. I have my sources as well. I'm coming off my show. Coming off my show on 105.3 The Fan, the G-Bag Nation. Reached out to a couple of different people in the organization. I said, hey, starting to hear these whispers about Amari Cooper, possibility there. And the answers that I got back on a couple of different levels was, Bryan, we're looking at a lot of wide receivers. So I think it's closer to where Jane Slater is. Nick was trying to kind of pin it down. I think Amari Cooper is part of the names that you were talking about, that they're clearly looking for or to potentially add, upgrade, however you want to say it, with a veteran receiver. They've got the receivers that they signed as undrafteds to go along with the guys they currently have on the roster. But there is actual conversations being had with other wide receivers. Now, whether that's free agency, whether that's trades, they're still working on those things. And I know there's a lot of people out there that will be very happy to hear that they just haven't gone to, said, okay, well, we're done. This is our team. We're going to go to Oxnard and, that's it. But they are truly working. I was trying to what, some names, and, I kept getting hey, we're talking about a lot of names here. So just, keeping the ear to the ground and hopefully here in the next few days, maybe next couple weeks, that in fact that they do add somebody to this mix.
And they're probably going to turn up the pressure now because bringing in a wide receiver doesn't affect the comp pick formula, Bryan.
Right, right.
And I think something I just thought about, is like we don't even have to have a slam dunk type wide receiver too. Like, it's not like we got to bring in Devontae Adams or something like that. I just think you have to get just a little better than Tolbert. Plus, I think it'll benefit whoever wide receiver 2 is, because there is conversation online that Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen are older and they aren't who they once were. Sure. I think Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen would benefit from being in this system with Dak at quarterback, and this thing looks like we're headed towards being like a run dominant team, with CeeDee Lamb being who he is as the main receiver. Cooper coming from Cleveland, right? Cleveland doesn't have a bunch of wide receiver help around
Well,
him.
Buffalo too. He went Cleveland to Buffalo. Yeah.
Buffalo.
Yeah.
He's a wide receiver one. There's a rookie wide receiver on the other side, and they throw the ball a lot in Buffalo. I imagine in this situation where we're not going to throw the ball as much as we did last year, and CD's the main guy. I think Cooper would be even better for you, Brian Bros.
Yeah. No. The thing with Amari Cooper and some of the discussions, again, we had on our show this afternoon was exactly what you're saying. Is Amari Cooper washed? Is Allen washed? Are these guys that are done, with their careers? Are they just trying to kind of hang on for one more year? And what are you going to get at them? My point that I would make is, Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. We all understand that at Buffalo.
Yeah.
So you kind of wonder what happened there. Why the disconnect? Cleveland, you could kind of understand the problems that they had at quarterback. So you understand that. But the point that I would make is Amari Cooper's best season working with Dak Prescott.
Sure.
Working with Dak. Dak has an understanding of where he is going to be, where to put the ball. He's got confidence in him, and I think Amari has confidence in Dak. My whole thing with Amari Cooper was, while he was here, was Amari Cooper had problems with Mike McCarthy, and then they had the problems with some of the COVID things. They lost a game to Kansas City. They could have used Amari Cooper, and they lost a game to the Raiders. The Sunday game and the Thanksgiving Day game. And it were two games that affected, and, Jerry Jones got mad about that. But I think Amari Cooper's biggest problem was with Mike McCarthy, who is no longer in the building. So, if bygones could be bygones here, and Jerry and Steven and Amari Cooper can kind of come to agreement, maybe being here would be the best thing for Amari Cooper because of Dak Prescott. That understanding that they have working together, could be beneficial as they're trying to kind of build this roster.
Whenever you get time to do this later, and I ask your thoughts on it now, we're saying Amari Cooper because that's the popular name here, and I do agree. I think he pairs with
now. Yeah, right now it is.
Right now.
Yeah. It's the one name that we kind of have, like Nick Harris has thrown that out. Who knows the Keenan Allen trade, Tampa, Detroit. There's Pittsburgh. What's going on with the Ravens?
Sure.
You can look at some of these teams. Hell, Green Bay's got a full room now of guys. Yeah. So there's some teams that might be looking to move on from some of these receivers. And that's exactly what my sources are telling me over there is, hey, we're looking at a lot of names. And I can say, if you're a Cowboy fan, don't panic yet. I know you're panicking right now because you don't feel like that they've addressed that. I think they're going to try to. One way or another, they're going to address this receiver room.
Is this team a wide receiver 2 away from being taken seriously for real?
Man, I think it depends on the wide receiver, though. If you compare, I'll tell you this is just what I think needs to happen. I think they need to add a wide receiver, sure.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see what happens with Mingo, just because of working with Dak. I'm interested in Tolbert once again. I'm not putting all my eggs in the Tolbert basket. Sure. I'm not putting all my eggs in the Flournoy basket. I'm not putting all my names in, in that anybody else is playing wide receiver there. What this team honestly needs is Jake Ferguson to be Jake Ferguson again.
Keep going.
They really do need, if you add Blue to the mix that they have, his ability in the backfield to catch the ball. Say you get Ferguson going again and Aisha Morrison and I had this discussion about Ferguson, and we're like, well, what do you think? And she's like, man, I'm worried about the concussion. I'm worried about, is he the same player? These discussions that you have, is there something that's kind of holding him back right now to be that guy? Now, he's dealt with a lot of injuries and the concussion stuff, missing a couple games. Is he the same guy? And, I think that's, but if you could get him back to that level and you could get Blue going, and you get Turpin going on some stuff, and then you got Lamb, and we'll see what happens with everybody behind. But then you add another piece. That's where this thing can really flourish. I mean, it's not all about, oh, let's go get Amari Cooper, or let's go get Keenan Allen, or let's go. But can you get Ferguson back to being the guy that he was, along, I mentioned, with Blue and others?
That was hard, Bryan, bro. That was good, man. That was good. Me and my guy Will Steele had a conversation today.
Mm-hmm.
And we were drawing parallels between this offensive line and that last great offensive line from like 2014 or something. You got 3 first-round picks. You and undrafted guy. Doug Free was a 4th-round guy, but like BB's like a 3rd-round dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think me and Will still think that Terrence Steele is gonna get right back on track. I think Terrence Steele really needed like a running mate next to him to keep him, and then Zach was getting hurt, and then the coaching got weird or whatever, Bryan.
See, yeah, there you go.
Do you, man? Me and Will still think that we're a Tyler Guyton away from this offensive line being really special. And I know Guyton had his flashes last year. He had his flashes last year, but you pair that with the Duke Manyweather tweets.
Yeah, that's troubling. Very troubling.
That on top of some of the rumors that you were telling me about, that maturity and all this, and how bad he's wanted it. Man, Bryan, man, we real close, man. And a part of me feel like I'm mad at the Joneses a little bit because Chuma Edoga took that job and didn't give it back. And we didn't bring Chuma Edoga back. I would have loved to have brought Chuma Edoga back and make Tyler Guyton fight him for it. That'd have been fantastic. Bryan, man, in your honest assessment, man, we gonna be looking at tackle next year when we do this thing all over again, or do we think that Guyton will be all right?
I think Guyton is going to have to compete for that job. There's some guys on that roster that.
Let's pull this shit up. Hold on.
No, I mean, I'm going to say it this way. I think as you're pulling up the roster, I think Steele will be better just for the fact that he doesn't have to play for Mike Solari. I think Mike Solari had his issues with Terrence Steele. And I think that hurt Terrence Steele, where Joe Philbin was his cheerleader.
Yeah.
Joe Philbin. And I'm not saying that Terrence Steele is a soft guy mentally or anything like that. Sure. But if you go from having a coach that's super, super, super supportive of you to a coach that's, I don't know about you, man. I don't know. Some of these coaches, and I asked the line coach about that when we had the chance. I said, how hard is it for these guys, some of these veteran guys? This is their 3rd line coach. Yeah. This is a 3rd line coach in 3-4 years. How difficult is that? When you come in and you're talking to these guys and they're looking at you like, God dang, I mean, you're completely different from the guy we had before, or you're completely different from the guy we had before that guy. Yeah. Or, so I think as a group, I think that Steele catches a break, because now I think he'll be more confident that, okay, fresh start with this guy. He's not going to judge me, but I've got to show my worth. He can watch the tape and see me play better. I think Guyton probably feeling the same way. Sure. That, hey, new coach. Now, a coach from the collegiate background, and a coach, the coordinator is a former offensive line coach, but you're going to have a lot of discussion of how they want to play this. So I think there's some guys. BB has to feel great that his college coach is now his pro coach.
Pro coach, yeah.
So those kinds of things, and I think that with Tyler Smith, he'll be just fine, and on the other side, Booker will be just fine too, because the coach that drafted him will be his coach. So I think overall as a group, there needs to be competition at left tackle. You know,
So Brian, I'm looking at it right now. Awesome Richards, Hakeem Adeniji. He's I guess one of the veterans that we brought in.
Yeah.
Earl Bostic, I don't expect to make a whole bunch of noise here.
No.
Nathan Thomas is listed as a tackle, which is interesting. But
he's a guard, I believe. Yeah.
We haven't seen him do anything. Matt Waletzko, I don't think will factor in this at all.
Matt Waletzko is going to lose his job.
Yeah. Then we have our rookie Cornelius, in which I think he'll lose. He'll take the job of Waletzko.
Swing guy.
So you think Hakeem Adeniji or Austin Richards are going to be the guys competing with Tyler Guyton for tackle?
Yeah, I think Awesome Richards.
Yeah.
I think Awesome Richards has shown that Awesome Richards will tell you he likes playing guard better than he likes playing tackle.
Yeah.
But I think, Awesome Richards has now been here long enough where he has the experience, but here's a guy. It seems like every year he's been in the league, they've had a new line coach for him, but I think that Awesome Richards is going to be the one that's going to push Guyton either into the starting role or push him out of it.
Yeah.
I we'll see how it all plays out, but right now I kind of feel like that's the main competition for him.
We're going to see, Brian Bros. This is going to be something to keep eyes on when we're doing training camp live for Crown Global Media.
Yeah.
And we might do a little something for .com if they got some money for us. But we'll be definitely keeping our eyes on that, Brian. I got a little bit of audio, man. I ain't got too much for you. Nothing difficult that we can't figure out on the fly here, Brian. Just listening to Coach Clayton Adams.
Yeah.
He was talking about the interior here, Brian. And, we've been gushing over how Teflon this interior is going to be here. Let me just run this clip for you. I probably should have done a sound test with you before, but we're going to build this plane in the air, okay? Let me see something.
Okay.
Big, strong,
now, I'll admit this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, go ahead. Because last time you played sound for me, I didn't hear the sound. And you nicely rehashed what the question was.
That's all good. Well, let's see it. Let's roll the dice and see what it is.
Let's see what we got.
Can you hear this?
Big, strong, fast, tough, smart. There's a lot of different words that you could use on the interior there. We got a long way to go, and we got to get a lot better in regards to, running the football. I think that first and foremost, you do whatever you have to do to win the game. And so I don't think that you go into a game and say like, well, we're just going to run it 70 times and we're going to see, what the score ends up being. You got to do whatever you can to win the football game. But creating explosives in the run game is a recipe for creating explosives in the pass game.
Man, they really going to lean on this run, huh, Brian, man? And I feel like they tell us this all the time, man. I feel like this is something that they've sold to us, but I think this is the first time I've heard it set up in a way that we're gonna run to truly set your pass up, not just hey man, we're gonna. And then look, and he said something earlier. We're not just running just to run it. You remember Kellen Moore used to get pissed off at Mike McCarthy and just run that thing 10 times in a row for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It seems like we're running with a purpose now, Brian. Do you think that this quote's going to carry over to August and September?
Yeah, I think initially we're going to see when we get into Oxnard how committed they are. When you watch the team periods, the 9-on-7 periods, how much run are we seeing from their scheme? And maybe even some of it when we get to if the Rams come over and scrimmage again, maybe we'll get some of that possibility. The Chargers, some of these, you can scrimmage, you can kind of get an idea of how they're going to do things scheme wise. But I think there is honestly a commitment to trying to take some of the offensive pressure off Dak Prescott and helping him with a solid, dependable running game would be outstanding for him. Yeah. I wonder if they have the horses to do that. It'll be how quickly the line comes together that we've talked about. Can they get the tight ends blocking as well? These will all be factors. But I think by Schottenheimer hiring the coaches that he did, and then them committed to be drafting Booker and some others, that maybe that in fact they are going to try and run the ball with some legitimacy, instead of just being lip service, that they're really going to try and set up some of these things. And they've got an explosive player in Blue.
Yeah.
They really, really do, and they've got some physical backs. Even, we're drafting Maffa as well, physical backs. So we'll see how that all plays. But I do feel like when we get to Oxnard and start to observe the practices, we'll see how committed they are, and by the work they're putting in on it.
I don't think Maffa's going to get involved too much, Bryan Broaddus. I think this is going to be the Williams and Blue show, honestly.
Yeah,
and
I threw him in there as kind of because he is we watched him, you see a guy that's really a straight line runner.
Sure.
Not a lot of wiggle.
Did you watch him?
I did. I went back and watched.
I feel like all of his biggest runs were blocked up perfectly.
Boy, there were some pretty holes, weren't there?
I had a respect.
Were some pretty holes.
I had a respect for Clemson's offensive line at the end of this, because all of his runs was wide open.
Nice. There were some pretty ones.
I feel like when it was a little cluttered, Bryan, just me giving my report, I think when it was a little cluttered, I think he did a lot of jump skipping and hopping. And I was like, hey, man, you much better when you play physical and not try to slash too much.
Don't you just take the ball and go.
Just go.
Just take the ball and go. Just go.
And even though I think he'll be much better not running from shotgun, I feel like every time they caught him kind of early, he fell to the ground quickly.
Yeah, it was a little tough. But I throw him in there because of some of the physicality. But you're right. We'll see with Sanders, and we'll see with Williams as well. But Blue's the one that is. Blue at 5'9", 196 is not a small guy.
Is that?
No, he can. I mean, he can make people miss. He could help an offensive line. But I do believe, as we're talking right now, that they're going to be committed to trying to help the quarterback with a better running game.
Something else on my report, Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see nobody 6 foot 230 pounds try to chop people when they pass setting.
I don't like that at all myself.
I ain't like that for Moffitt either, Bryan.
No, but then neither.
I had a little hope for Moffitt. I was like, hey, I said, look, Krosky Mary never did this.
What's so funny, and I looked at you when it happened. Dallas picks, and then Krosky Merritt goes right after him goes right to the Commanders. I went, oh geez, this is not going to be good. But hurt. There was a couple. They saw Moffitt different than a lot of us. Like I say, there were some 7-round backs. Dan Martinez goes in the 7th round. Allen goes in the 7th round. Krosky Merritt goes in the 7th round. These are all like 4th round running backs.
Yeah.
So just shows you really how deep the group was.
Man, Bryan Broaddus, Coach Guyton.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I believe it was Tommy Yards to ask him about rotating D linemen.
Oh.
Let me just play this clip for you, Bryan.
It's critical. Number one is if you play the game the right way, you need to rotate. So if you're playing physical and you're sprinting to the ball every play, then you're gonna have to rotate because nobody can do that for 90 plays in a game. So that's number one. Number two, it's cool and it's powerful to have versatility. So I'm blocking this style, and then oh wow, this guy came in. He's totally different. That's a unique piece to have. And the last part about this is knock on wood that we never even hope of. But if somebody breaks a shoelace, we still got to rush on 3rd down. So if we don't have the depth, if we don't have our group right, then we're gonna have problems on a Sunday. We can't live that life.
Now, Bryan, I'm glad I got this depth chart pulled up.
I love that saying. We can't live that life.
We can't live that life, man. We can't live.
That needs to be another T-shirt. We can't live that life.
We simply cannot live our life in that way, Bryan.
Cannot live our life that way.
I say, man, Bryan, we got a whole bunch of Man, we got 4. Man, we got 16 D linemen on the roster right now, Bryan. I'll just name out some of the names that I think are going to matter here.
Give me the 10. Give me the 10 you think are going to matter.
That was the exercise I was going to get to, Bryan, because everybody ain't going to make out the 16.
No, give me the 10 that are going to matter.
Let me say something interesting to you, first of all.
Okay.
How the depth chart is constructed.
Yeah.
On our lads, which I think they
do a fine job. Our lads is good.
So the first 2 rows is 8, right? The fourth row is Sam Williams, Justin Rogers, Tommy Akinga-Basote, and Peyton Turner. Now, Bryan, I just have this thought, and that's just how this organization works. The rookies typically make the team. If you get drafted, you typically make the team, Bryan.
You do.
So let's run down this 10. Fowler, Mozzie, Osa, Michael, Micah, which is 4. Donovan, Solomon, Marshawn. I'll say Sam because he's been here.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's 8.
That's 8.
Here's the rest of the names that I'm not clear on yet. Jay Toya.
Okay, I think Toya. He should be one of the, because he's a rookie. He's going to make it. Yeah,
that's 9.
Okay. Let's do this. When you get done, when you get that 10th one.
So now we're having to choose between Peyton Turner, Tommy Akinga-Basote, which is a draft pick.
Yeah.
Justin Rogers, Tyrus Wheat, who's played real downs for you.
Yeah.
I don't think the rest matter. And Denzel Jackson is Caribbean, so I think he's on the international list.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my last 8. Peyton Turner, Sam Williams is 9 to 10. So does Peyton Turner not make the team, Bryan?
I think that Peyton Turner probably does make the team.
You think Sam gets cut, Bryan? You think Sam?
I think
they didn't draft him. They didn't draft him, Bryan.
I think Sam needs to show up.
Yeah.
I think there's a side of Sam that needs to come into camp, ready to play, and not be messing around. Yeah. You've lost your sponsors.
Sure.
You've got to come in here, and there's been flashes of brilliance, and there's been flashes of what the F. Yep. And I think it's really, really important. Do me a favor. Mm-hmm. Say they go 6 edges and 4 tackles. Let's play that game real quick. If you could, just give me your. So Mozzie, I mean, could they cut? They couldn't cut Mozzie.
No. So my 6
okay,
edges.
Let's go defensive tackles first.
Tackles first. So that's 4 tackles.
4 tackles.
Mozzie, Osa. Yeah. It has to be Solomon, and I would imagine that Toya is your last one, and Akinga-Basote would be your practice squad guy because he's a draft pick.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's your 4.
Yeah.
Your 6 edges are Parsons, Fowler, Donovan Easy, Ezeraku, Nealon, Peyton Turner, and Sam make 6.
Yeah.
So now it's like Sam or Tommy Akinga-Basote, Tommy or Justin Rogers. Justin Rogers. Yeah. Assuming Peyton makes
I think
the team.
You got. See what you do is you got like Mozzie and our UCLA guy.
Yeah.
That's the one techniques.
That she knows is Osa and Solomon are your 3s.
Osa I wonder if they would go 5 and 5. I don't see a 5th. I don't see a 5th right now. I don't see a 5th defensive tackle, whether it's a 1 or a 3.
Tommy or Justin are going to have a fantastic camp to get in that mix.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that Tommy, and I'm saying this right now, just watching the Maryland tape.
Yeah,
I think there's a chance that he's probably your practice squad guy.
Sure, strong as hell though, and long arms.
Strong
as hell, long arms, but not
arms.
Not all the way there yet though. Not all the way.
Yeah,
there.
but the really cool one is though, as your edges, because you talked about Fowler, and you got Micah, and you've got Easy.
Yep.
And then you're looking at Nealon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And then so you got two more then, right?
Sam and Peyton Turner. Do all those guys make the game day roster? Do you carry 5 or 6 edges on the game day roster?
Trying to think. I think they always I think they kind of have a backup for each guy is what they do. Or maybe some guys can play multiple the right and the left. So Fowler, Micah, Easy, Nealon, Turner, Williams.
Marshawn and Peyton Turner are your best run defending ends, so they're gonna be here.
And I wonder if you dress both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you dress both of them, or do you have just one of those guys? Because maybe you're trying to get as many pass rushers dressed in a game as you can.
Is Sam gonna be a punt gunner for you this year?
I'll never forget, man. We're out there on the practice field. I look up. Next thing I know, he's laying on the field with the cart coming over on him. I'm going, what the hell is happening now?
Yeah.
But you know what? That's not a bad group.
Sure.
I mean, you need Mozzie. You need Mozzie so bad in this thing to.
Mozzie and Guyton are your two guys that can really turn this thing around.
Yeah, I mean, this defense, this front, if Mozzie comes into camp and is absolutely ready to go and just got the bit between his teeth, yeah, I don't worry. I don't worry about Izaraku. I don't worry about him.
He'll be fine.
I think when we watch him at practice, we're going to be like, all right, I see it. I mean, I think we saw it on Boston College tape, but the fact he's got some Micah Parsons trait with his ability to move around,
sure.
I think that could be special for this football team.
We'll see, Brian Bros. Time is counting on down, Brian. And I'm excited to see how this roster turns out because looking at the R-Lad depth chart, it's a lot of bodies on it, and I didn't think
a lot of bodies. Yeah,
I didn't think of the roster being that deep, but they're gonna fight for their life, and they're gonna add some more guys to it, and it should be fun. It should be fun.
Well, they just like we were talking about. They need Mozzie to step up. I think they need Nealon to step up. And the one thing that I think Peyton Turner can bring is he's a good run defender.
Yeah.
So, how many run defenders do you want on? If you're sacrificing some pass rush, how many guys? I mean, you wouldn't dress Nealon and Turner, I don't think, and then have Williams sit if you're wanting to think about pass rush. But
I think you just need two. I think you just need Turner and Marshawn, and Micah's going to be on the field most of the time.
Right.
I don't look at Dante and Donovan as like rundown guys.
Right.
So yeah, I think those two and Micah. Those are your guys.
Yeah.
Shake my hand, Brian. Shake my hand. You doing draft show tomorrow?
I am.
You love to just volunteer your ass to rotate out of stuff, but this is your show. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? Let me tell you this. I've had my day in the sun on the draft show. I want to give some other folks the opportunity to go in there, and I'm not just being like, oh, I'm hero guy, whatever. I honestly, I've had my final draft shows and stuff where I've sat there and said, oh, well, they did this. Some other guys, they deserve opportunities. Everybody did a hell of a job here, and I really do feel like I've done this for a long time, and I had my moments that what we did, and not that I'm giving up on the draft show or anything like that. I'm just saying that I would hate personally for me to be on the show, but you not to be able to have your opinion of it as well. I think the guys the new guys that have come on, the experience, they need to put this thing to bed. They need to put this draft to bed. And so, guys like yourself and Tommy, I think that you guys deserve to go on there and have your final, your final curtain call. I've had curtain calls for that thing. So in a nice way, I appreciate it. So if I have to rotate off, I am more than happy to step aside for that. Because I think you guys did, again, I said it yesterday, you guys did a hell of a job, especially you. You really did. And you deserve to to say, thanks to everybody and give your opinion on how this draft as a whole really looks. So if you want to, go take my spot tomorrow.
You better sit your ass in that chair, and me and you will sit on there together, Bryan Broaddus. I appreciate your kind words, man. I appreciate your kind. I love working with you, man. This is.
I love working with you too. But like I said, there's somebody's gonna. I mean, Tommy's not.
I understand.
Nick's not gonna be with us tomorrow. So okay, if we go at 11, Bobby might beg out unless Bobby will tell us he's got razor blades going through his stomach right now or some crazy thing like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, but there's a lot. You guys deserve to have your curtain call. You really do. You really do. I've had a lot of these curtain calls for the draft show.
Yeah.
You guys need to experience the thrill of sitting there and talking about all the guys and putting your final goodbyes and touches on it and moving forward.
We'll see, Bryan Broaddus, but I appreciate you for the journey. We got another one that we starting up soon. We'll have an announcement for y'all, but
yep, absolutely.
I appreciate.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for our future, my friend. I really am.
It's a cool little chapter for our book. But hey, y'all be sure to hit all the likes and all that. We appreciate y'all for tapping in. Bryan, would you like to answer some questions tomorrow? We'll put out some.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to, because I know that I've kind of gone on a Twitter hiatus, and what I've done on our site is I like, if somebody says something I like, yeah, I like it. But yeah, I think some folks will have some great questions about what happened. And if one more other thing, and I know I've been saying thanks a lot here the last couple of days, I do go through all those comments, guys. I do appreciate the nice things that you've said about Voch and myself and working together, and how much that you've enjoyed this. It does. It means so much to somebody like me. It really does. I mean, I take a lot of pride in our draft. And like I said, this guy, my partner here, did a hell of a job with it, and he deserves all the flowers you guys are giving him as well. So keep that up. Appreciate it. And let's do questions tomorrow night. If you got questions, fire it in there. I'm sure Voch will pick out the ones he wants to have answered. And for 45 minutes, we're doing all right. We'll hammer some questions.
Indeed. Appreciate y'all. Not only do I read the comments, but I'll come back to the video later in the day and hit refresh and read all the new ones. Because I really like y'all's feedback, and I want to know how y'all feel.
It is. It's cool. And it means a lot to us that you guys care this much.
Yeah.
And we're gonna carry you guys on a journey in the future here. So be ready for that.
Stay tapped in. All right. Y'all follow me at VOCHLOMBARDI, and please tap in with BRYN Bros. He won't answer your questions unless you put it in my y'all have any questions post. But just hitting him, he ain't gonna answer, but y'all follow him anyway. All right. Y'all hold it down until next time. We love y'all. Crown.